7 fast-track ways to become a business consultant. Hey, what's up? This is Pete here, and it's been a little while since I did a video specifically on consulting. And since then, there's been the world turned upside down. But the reason why I want to talk specifically to you about consulting today is because quite a few people have been asking me recently, hey, I would love to get in consulting, but I don't know how. And also, is it even worth trying to work with companies at the moment? Because at the end of the day, this whole pandemic has meant that a lot of companies are closing down. A lot of people are working from home. So is there even a chance right now that I could become a consultant? My short answer is yes. Now, before I get into these 7 fast track tips, what I want you to know is that most people overcomplicate what consulting is. They believe that they need to have some kind of formal education, they need an MBA, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with those things, but predominantly consulting is solving a specific problem for companies. So before we get started, if you could consult on anything, what would it be? Now keep that in mind as we go through these 7 fast track tips for you to become a business consultant. Tip number 1, solve a specific problem. That's all it is. I've alluded to this already, but let's dig into the details a little bit more here. What's that? What problem do you solve? You make people happy. I'm not sure that that's a consulting thing, but my point is here. For me, I've had a chance to work with over 400 companies over the last 8 years, and I have no formal education, but because I solved a specific problem, helping companies to transform their sales. So basically a company will reach out to me asking for sales training. By the time I sit down with them and say, hey, what's really going on in your business in terms of sales? We identify it's not just some sales training that they need, but maybe they need to look at their recruitment strategy. Also, we go into depth with their leadership skills. How's the manager leading, coaching, and mentoring their sales team? The list goes on and on. By the time that meeting is finished, that company won't just book a sales training day, they'll book the entire ecosystem of everything that impacts the sale. I don't want to simply go into a company and just do some training. I want to look at everything around the sale and have that 4D approach. So you're not just there to pitch a product or a service. You're there to dig deep on the problem and in an articulate way be able to communicate what's really going on to the decision maker. And this may mean that you end up positively challenging the decision maker on what they believe the problem is. Remember, as a consultant, you're not paid to sell a solution. You are paid to understand, number 1, the real problem that a company has, not the perceived problem they think they have. Most of the time, a company will inquire with you because they believe that they have some small issue. But you know already when you sit down with them that it could be a much deeper issue. That's really what I believe consulting is. And if you can draw that out in a meeting, it's amazing how that can convert into a consulting contract, not just a one-off service. Tip number 2, build the proof that you can solve the problem. It's catch-22, isn't it? You know that you're great at what you do, and you know that you can help companies, but at the same time, every time you have a meeting with a company, they say, well, what other companies like us have you helped? And you say, well, you'll be my first client, or I'm working on something in the background, but you don't have a set, tangible answer. The most important thing you do when you start out as a consultant, especially if you go out there by yourself, you're not working for a big consulting firm, you need to build the proof and demonstrate the evidence that you've helped other companies in that sector. So how do you even go about this? Well, there's a number of things that you can do. I want to share 2 with you now. 1 is do a paid on result service. So basically what you do is you approach companies and say, I can help you improve your sales or get more leads or whatever problem you can solve, and I'm going to do it for free. Now, this means that yes, you are taking the risk. It's called risk reversal marketing. So basically the client has almost zero risk because why not, this guy or guy's going to help me for free and I only need to pay them if they're actually able to bring the result. This is how I started my consulting career. I wasn't getting anywhere. I was calling companies, I was walking into loads of businesses, they were all saying no. So I thought to myself, I'll work with companies, I'll let them know that I can help them improve their sales and they only need to pay me when they get the result. And by doing this, it was a game changer. I went from 0 clients to 11 clients in just 3 weeks because every single company I spoke to were like, yeah, sure, come and help us. We'll do a bit of training with you and you can give us some support and see what happens. And the best thing of all was not the fact that I had 11 case studies, which is vitally important. It was the fact that it actually validated that I wasn't just living in a dream world. I actually could provide a solution for these businesses. And that did more for my confidence in a short time than any other marketing that I'd ever done before. Now, the second thing that you can do here is you can simply work with 3, maybe even 5 companies, no more than 5, completely for free. And I actually believe honesty and being completely transparent is the best policy. You let companies know, I'm just starting out, I believe I've got a great solution, but I really need some case studies at the moment. Would you be happy for me to come in, work with your business for however long your solution is, to document that process? That means I can do some filming, I can interview your staff. We start at the beginning and then we document through the process. And by doing so, you've got this incredible case study at the end of it. In fact, you won't have one, you'll have 3, maybe even 5. And then you can use those case studies to go out and win those paid clients. And one other thing, always make sure that you have permission to take the logo and the brand name of the company that you just helped as well. Tip number 3, this one will get you consulting gigs so quickly that you won't even get through the 7 tips before you've got your first consulting client. This tip is so straightforward. You can become an associate consultant for a consulting company. So rather than putting all the pressure on your own shoulders and dealing with that stress and how you're going to get paid, how do you win the clients, simply approach consulting companies which are already successful, give them a call or drop them an email, say something along the lines of, hey Mr. or Mrs. Smith, I noticed that you're a consulting company in X industry and you specialize in these areas. I'm actually a consultant myself and I was wondering if you ever use any associate consultants. If you do, I feel I could bring value in X, Y, and Z. A small extra tip here is what you can do is look at their website and you can see an area that they're already delivering and you can state that in the email. I can see that you're delivering this consulting. I feel I could bring even more value to this area. Or if there's an area of opportunity that they're not doing, then you can say, I notice you're not doing this. This could be a good extension to your brand. I'd love to have a call with you if that would be possible. Now, it's such a straightforward approach. It's almost so simple that we miss it. I was able to get into a number of consulting companies years ago. I'm going back 10, even 11 years. And the reason why I was able to do it was because I looked on consulting companies' websites that specialize in marketing, or social media was very new back then, but they weren't doing any sales training or consulting. So I approached them and said, would you like to also add this? I'd be happy for you to sell my sales training. And that's exactly what happened. A number of companies that I worked with, they sold on my behalf. So they got the client, they organized everything, and all I needed to do was show up and be a rock star. Maybe that's what you need to do too. Tip number 4, choose an underserved industry with an in-demand skill. So let's take, for example, you're a marketing consultant and you specialize in marketing via social media. Now, the first thing I'm going to say here is that there is thousands of companies, probably within a 100-mile radius of you, that would love your support. Now, you may have identified, for example, that there's a lot of marketing consultants and agencies within the beauty industry, and you've seen how these consultants and agencies have really been able to help all of these salons and spas boost their business. So maybe you don't want to go into the beauty industry because it's already a market that's oversaturated. However, if you shift 1 degree to the right or 2 degrees to the left, you might have the fitness industry. And the fitness industry you'll look at and say, this is a similar industry. It's still health and wellness and fitness, but there isn't many marketing consultants helping these gyms actually grow their business. So you can logically look at the industry and say it's underserved, but it is an in-demand skill. And that's how you take on your approach. By the way, it is important to niche and it is important to pick an industry, especially at the beginning. Tip number 5, make your first 1,000 calls. If you love what you do, you want to make a difference, and you want to be a consultant, then you need to pick up the phone. The phone cannot be the enemy, it has to become your best friend. Don't get me wrong, we all have that resistance or that reluctance to send the emails, pick up the phone, create the connections, but how will we ever learn, and how will we create the opportunities if we're not willing to take the first step? If you see my previous YouTube videos, you'll know that I made 2,223 calls in 30 days, and the result of that was that I got 11 meetings. I know it's a terrible conversion to meetings. I didn't know at all what I was doing. I got those 11 meetings, and then I got my first 4 paying clients. And let's think about this for a moment. If you're going to be a consultant, you're going to be solving problems for companies, one of the best things you can do to build your confidence and your resilience to get yourself out there is get your first 1,000 calls done. And I know that there's going to be some marketing expert who's watching this video right now saying, no, you don't need to do it that way. You just come up with a marketing campaign. Sure enough, I believe the difference is that everybody's doing marketing campaigns now. And what's become relevant again is actually connecting with people, hearing a voice at the end of the phone. There's nothing more powerful. Tip number 6, don't waste your life building marketing and sales funnels and learning from online gurus. Now, it might sound like a hypocrite right now because you're like, like, you're online, here you are doing this video. But what I'm saying here is that the best thing you can do is take imperfect action. Waiting for perfect action is not going to help you become a highly paid business consultant. It's about doing the work, showing up, and building the relationships first and foremost. Some of the most successful people that I know who are legitimately successful, they're not just online successful, they've never done a single sales funnel. They've never come up with a single marketing campaign. What they're great at is building relationships, connecting with people, and ensuring that they keep that consistency throughout their career. So keep it simple and do the work. And finally, tip number 7, be you. Because everybody else is taken, you may as well be yourself. A business consultant does not mean that you have to show up in a suit and tie unless you work with a particular industry that requires that. Especially today, there's a lot more informal companies out there. Look, you can be professional, but you do not need to be corporate. Be yourself. Think about how you can bring your personality and your skill set to help a specific type of company in a specific industry. And I'm oversimplifying it, but that is really all it takes. So there you have it. That is my 7 top tips to become a business consultant. Please bear in mind, the world is moving at rapid pace, but a lot of companies are still stuck in the previous chapter. That means that they're not great with social media. They're not good with marketing. They still believe that selling is about these sales techniques from 1995. If you have an innovative skill that helps companies, especially in today's world, then you have got a great opportunity to get yourself out there and be hugely successful as a consultant. Thank you so much for checking out today's video. Make sure you comment below with your favorite tip. I look forward to reading your comments and seeing you in the next video.